All right. So, hi everyone. Interesting topic tonight. Perhaps more interesting for Kohanim, but I think it'll shed some light on other issues as well. As far as, we live in such a multicultural Jewish world, not only a multicultural world in general, but a generation ago, if an Ashkenazi boy married a Sefardi girl, that was like an intermarriage, right? Or vice versa. Right, Moish, right? You can testify.
Is Moish here?
And today, Baruch Hashem, the Ashkenazi guys get all the beautiful Sefardi girls, and so it's wonderful. We're the beneficiaries, right? And but the fact is that this has created a dynamic that didn't exist in generations past, which is, it's very clear cut. Let's say, for example, on Pesach, you go after the husband's minhagim, not after the wife's minhagim. But then the question, there are shilas that always come up every Pesach, seasonally. My in-laws have invited me over for the Seder, and they have kitniot, and what am I allowed to eat? Can I eat from their pots? Right? A lot of these different shilas come up. We're not going to get into any of that today. But I was just speaking with Alan Fink over Shabbos, and he asked me the question, do you have a son-in-law or daughter-in-law who's Sephardic?
Son-in-law.
Son-in-law Sephardic, right. And Davin's at his shul. They duchen every day. Alan is a Kohen. What should he do? Does he go outside? Should he duchen with the other Kohanim? We're going to see some very interesting perspectives. I want to remind us all that the fact that Kohanim do not duchen in Ashkenazi communities in Chutz La'aretz, except on a few select days, namely the Yom Tovim, is a very mysterious minhag. To this day, we still don't fully understand why this minhag holds true. A little bit over 5 years ago, I gave a shir, which you can find it somewhere on KosherTube, the KosherTube channel on YouTube, which was titled, Why Don't Kohanim Duchen Every Day in Chutz La'aretz, Ashkenazi Kohanim. And at the time, we had seen a review of a number of different opinions. But I just want to remind you that this is based on the Ramah. I have the Ramah here, we'll look at it very quickly. It's in source number 5 on the third page. The Ramah writes in Simin Kuf Chav Ches, Seif Mem Dalid, if you take a look, that the question that is undertaken by the Shulchan Aruch is, does a bachelor Kohen duchen? Does a Kohen who's unmarried, does he duchen? So the Mechaber says yes, and the Ramah says, Yesh omrim de'eno nosei kapav, dehashori below isha, shori below simcha. Because if a man is unmarried, he's not happy. What are you laughing about? Oh, that was you laughing. Okay. That if a person is unmarried, he's unhappy. And you have to be v'hamivarech yesh lo lihiyos b'simcha. And a person who duchens, a Kohen who duchens, has to be b'simcha, has to be happy. V'noagu shenosei kapav afal pi she'eno nasui. And therefore the minhag is that a Kohen who's unmarried does duchen. U'mikol makom harotze shelo lisa kapav ein mochin biyado. But if a bachelor Kohen chooses not to duchen, we don't, we don't criticize him. Rak shelo yehei beveis hakneses b'shah shekorin kohanim o omrim lahem litol yedeihim. But he really should avoid the situation. He should step outside a shul to avoid the problem completely, because if they tell him, go in duchen, then there's potentially, he's violating a mitzvahs aseh deoraisa by not going up to duchen. Because Birkas Kohanim, even today, is a mitzvah saseh deoraisa, even in Chutz La'aretz. It's not a mitzvah hatluya ba'aretz. It's not a mitzvah that's dependent upon Eretz Yisrael. Noagu b'chol, then he gets into the larger issue, which is Noagu b'chol medinos elu she'ein nosim kapayim ela b'yom tov. The minhag in Ashkenazic countries, is that we do not duchen except on Yom Tov. Mishum sha'az shiruyim b'simchas Yom Tov, because that's when we're in a state of happiness over Yom Tov. V'tov leiv hu yivarech, and only someone who is of good heart, of merry heart, may do Birkas Kohanim. Ma she'en kein b'sha'ar yamim, afilu b'shabbasos hashana, sheterudim b'hirhurim al michyasam ve'al biltul melachtam. That on other Shabbosos, and even on Shabbos, where you could say why can't a person be Tov Leiv on Shabbos, of good heart? So the Ramah says, even on Shabbos, your mind is still racing about the 6 days that you just came from and the 6 days that you're going to have to go to. So you're still not completely at rest, even on Shabbos, which is a sad commentary, right? But remember, in medieval Europe, life was not so colorful as it is today. You didn't go to a concert on a Saturday night, in medieval Ashkenaz. You were lucky if you had a piece of stale bread from a lava malka, right? So it was a different kind of existence, and therefore even on Shabbos you're not completely happy. Va'afilu biyom tov einosin kapayim ela b'tfilas musaf shiyotzim ozmi beis hakneses v'yismechu b'simchas Yom Tov. And the Ramah adds is that even on Yom Tov you should only duchen in musaf, because you're anticipating leaving shul and going to a merry festive meal. But Shacharis, you got to sit through the rabbi's drasha. It's a pain in the neck, right? So you know what? You're not happy. So that's the reason why you don't duchen in Shacharis. The chol Shacharis umusaf sheinosin bo kapayim, and then of course that any prayer service where we don't duchen, the Shliach Tzibor says sort of a surrogate little prayer of Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosenu Barucheinu v'Abracha HaMishuleshes, etc. The Aruch HaShulchan, in commenting on this, Aruch HaShulchan, late 19th century, writes, V'hinei vadai ein shum ta'am nachon leminhagenu. He says straight out right, the Aruch HaShulchan, there is no legitimate reason for this minhag. There is no legitimate reason for this minhag not to duchen daily. Levatel mitzvat aseh, to just basically not do a mitzvah aseh. De birkas kohanim kol hashana kula. Because with the minhag garuahu, and many people write that it's a poor minhag. It's actually improper to not duchen. However, avol ma naaseh ucheilu bas kol yatsa shelo lahaniach lanu lisa kapayim b'chol hashana kula. But what can we do? It's as if a heavenly voice came forward and said, Chevra, don't do this. And we know that there are stories that when they tried to reinstitute Birkas Kohanim, it's recorded that the Gra tried to reinstitute Birkas Kohanim, and he was unsuccessful. Another Rav tried to reinstitute Birkas Kohanim in either the 18th or the 19th century, and the shul burned down the day that they were supposed to reinstitute it. So basically, it's almost like it was sort of cursed in Ashkenazi communities. He says, "Umekublani sheshnei gdolei hador, b'dora shelefanenu kol echad b'makomo ratza lahanik nesias kapayim b'chol yom, u'shehigbilu yom hamugbal lazeh nispalbel ha'inyan v'lo ala lahem." I know of two Gedolei Yisrael of previous generations who tried to reinstitute it in their shuls, and it turned out that on the day that they tried to reinstitute it, something happened. And the whole davening was turned upside down, and they couldn't do it. And they therefore said, this is a heavenly decree. It must be from Shemayim that this is the case. And then he writes, trying to rationalize why. What's like a rational explanation? He says, "Umitzad adin yesh lomar al pi ma shekosav b'sif mem tes al pi hazohar debo'inan simcha dumya da'aron uvanav b'shmina lemiluim." The Zohar says that in order to duchen, you have to be besimcha, as Aharon and his sons were on the day that they consecrated the Mishkan. V'lazen nemar kosev arachu. And that's why the pasuk says, "Thusly shall you bless Israel." The same way that Aaron and his sons did it besimcha on the day that the Mishkan was reinstituted or sort of consecrated. That's the way you have to bless, and if you're not in that state of mind, you don't have a right. Omnam zeh shayaminag mikodem diyom tov shechal b'Shabbos lo yinosim kapeim kvar nisbatel b'yameinu ki ein b'minag hazeh tam v'reach kamo sherichu meforshi hashulchan aruch bazeh. He says that minhag that they used to have, where if Yontif and Shabbos coincided, that they wouldn't duchen on that day, there's no tam vareach, there's absolutely no basis. If it's Yontif, you duchen whether it's Shabbos or not. The only thing we don't do when Yontif and Shabbos coincide is we don't do the ayayays, we don't do the yihiratzon, we don't sing. Ubalkeri mutter b'nesiyas kapayim, and even a person who's tamei with tumas keri is allowed to duchen. And he says, v'machmir litvol tavo olav bracha. And if he wants to be machmir, let him go to mikveh. Amnam be'eretz Yisrael uve'mitzrayim uvechol Azia nosim hakohanim kapeim b'chol yom. But he says in Eretz Yisrael and in Egypt and Asia, which maybe is Aza, I'm not sure. Oh, Asia. Sorry, in all Asiatic countries, really meaning Sephardic countries, the Kohanim Duchen.
Oh, we talked about Turkey.
You think so? Okay. The Kohanim Duchen every day. Kohanim Duchen every day. So there you have it. By the way, he's anticipating all of the arguments as to why you shouldn't duchen. And there was a tshuva that we did at the time. Again, I'm going back over 5 years ago. We did a long tshuva from the Beis Ephraim, where he gives like 5 different arguments for this minhag not to duchen bisman hazeh. And at the end of the day, like again, very, very difficult to find a rationale. The Chassam Sofer we brought also tried to find a rationale. The Chassam Sofer argued that tefillah is b'makom karbanos, and that's why Kohanim duchen right after the Shmon Esrei, because it's like right after the karbanos, the Kohanim bless the people. But since our davening is so inferior, it's like bringing a balmum karban, and therefore it's not appropriate for the Kohanim to bless the people after they bring an inferior karban. All these different reasons. And yet, as you saw from the very first line of the Aruch HaShulchan, it's a mystery. What can we do? It's as if a baskol came from heaven and told us not to duchen, so we really don't have a really grounded reason that we're all happy with, but it's still our minhag. So now the question is, you are an Ashkenazi Jew, and I'm going to present it in the following 2 ways. You get invited to a bar mitzvah at the Kehillah Center, or another Sefardi Minyan, and they call up the Kohanim to duchen. What do? Do you walk out of the shul, or do you join the other Kohanim? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what if you're a Kohen who loves to duchen? And so you would like to choose to make your permanent shul a Sephardic shul so that you can daven every day and do Birkas Kohanim. Is that legitimate?
So what if you're going to be Kohen?
And also, what if a corollary of that is, what if I'm the only Kohen? Do I have an imperative? And the Sephardic shul asks me to duchen there every morning. Do I have an imperative to daven there?
I got a different question. What about if you're a Sefardi and, for example, Kehillah Center in the Bayit? Does the Sefardi have a right to daven in the Bayit?
Excellent question, Robert. We can add another corollary question. A Sephardic Jew who davens at the Bayit regularly and he's a Kohen, does he have a right to do that? Where he's not duchening every day? All of these questions are part and parcel of this discussion. So let's see. One of the tshuvas that I'd like to look at with you is from the Sefer Mayim Chaim from Reb Chaim David Halevi, who was the chief Sephardic rabbi of Tel Aviv, a huge gaon of a scholar. And he has a tshuva, and you might, some of you may say, well, of course, what is a Sephardi going to tell you? Right? A Sephardi rabbi is going to tell you that the Sephardim are the winners, right? We're the guys who get everything right, and the Ashkenazim get everything wrong. But we'll see. We'll see if this is something that's accepted by the Ashkenazi poskim. But let's see what he says. Im mutter lekohen Ashkenazi laseis kapov b'yemei b'minyan Sfaradim. That's the question. The question that we just presented. Hini ma'asher kabbalat michtav chaf bet miyom chavav tishrei dina b'she'elato shelo a'atiken leman hakitzor v'hu tuvan mitoch hatshuva. I won't bother writing your question because it'll become self-explanatory from the answer. Yadua minhag haSfardim shehakohanim nosim kapayim b'chol yom l'umat minhag haAshkenazim laseit kapayim b'yom tov b'tfilat musaf bilvad k'divrei harama. He says we are well aware of the difference of minhag. Umaran habeit Yosef dachat tamo shel mahari molin she'en hakohanim nosim kapim b'chol yom mishum sheminhagam litvol lifnei nesias kapayim v'kasha hadover b'chol yom. There was the Mahari Mulin, an Ashkenazi posek, who had suggested that the reason Kohanim don't duchen, Ashkenazi Kohanim don't duchen, is because their minhag was to always go to mikvah before duchening because of tumas keri, and it was too much of a bother, and so they just decided to drop the minhag. Because of she'ein zetam maspik v'hu chumra da'asi lidei kula, and the Beis Yosef rejects that. And he says that's a leniency, or that's a chumrah, I should say, that brings to leniency. If you're going to be machmir to go to mikvah, and because it's too much of a burden, you're not going to duchen, it would be better for you to duchen without going to mikvah. V'toli tanya b'delo tanya ve'ech yivatlu mishum chumrah shenagu shlosha asei b'chol yom ayin sham ba'orech. And he goes along that line of argumentation, which says that's not a legitimate reason to not duchen every day. V'harama b'darchei Moshe kasav she'atam hu ki machmas bitul melacha la'am shebe'elu ha'aratzot she'akohanim ve'ha'am trudim b'michyatam b'galutam ve'ein lahem lefarnes b'nei beitam ki im alechem asher yikatu b'zeyat ha'apam dvar yom b'yomo ve'ein shruim b'simcha. The Rama writes the reason because life is miserable in Europe. Because life is simply miserable in Europe. It's difficult, schwer zu sein a Yid. It's difficult, life is difficult. People work very hard. They barely earn a meager living, and as a result, people are not, as a general rule, besimcha, right? Which is, that term kalta litvak, right? So there's truth to it in the sense that if you come from that culture of austerity, there's less simcha, and if you're not besimcha, you can't fulfill the Zohar's directive of blessing only blessing when you're besimcha. V'lochein ein nosim kapayim b'yom sheish bo bitul melacha ve'af b'Shabbos einam nosim kapayim mipnei shetruda b'machshava v'hirhurim al ma'aseh yadeim v'enim shuim besimcha k'mo b'yom tov v'lochein nishtarvei v'minhag shel lisa kapayim kim b'yom tov ha'kan l'shono because of tam zeh b'ktzara gam b'shulchan aruch. Basically, just a review of what we read already from the Ramah. He says that's a sufficient reason if you want to try and be malamed zchus, which is to try and offer some level of defense for those who are mevatel a mitzvah saseh. Aval haroa yireh kama kalushu gam tamzeh. But just read it, and you'll see how weak of an argument it is. Okay? Va'adarabba maran hachida katav al divrei harama she'im ha'tzibor b'tzara chas v'sholom v'ha'tzibor mitpalalim al tzaratam tov v'yashar shebitfilat ha'shachar ha'kohanim nosim kapeihem ve'achar kach yitpalalu al tzaratam. He says the Chida, Rav Azulai, the Talmud of the Arizal, but who's also a Sefardi, he says halachically, in the event that the tzibor is going to have a special prayer service to daven for, let's say, an eis tzara, a distressing time in the life of the community, they should first do their regular tefillah with duchening, and then have the special Tehillim prayer service afterwards. Why? Ki al yedei nesias kapayim mitorerim harachamim v'yinatein lahem matnat chinam ad kan l'shono. He says, because if anything, if you're in dire straits, you're better off having Birkas Kohanim, so that the blessing will actually be a defense and help ward off all of the dire situations. The ein heder simcha yoter me'et tzara. He says, and of course, there's no greater privation of simcha than when you're in a state of a dire situation. Therefore, va'adarabba aznosim kapayim techilot la'oreret harachamim ve'achar kach mitpalalim al tzaratam. And therefore, you should first do Birkas Kohanim to arouse divine mercy, and then beseech Hashem to alleviate your pain. So, if anything, you see that Birkas Kohanim is more of an imperative when situations are bad, when people are unhappy. So, that sort of weakens that argument. Ve'hakneses hagdola kosav b'shem harama b'simin tzarihei shemashu nogin ha'olam shena kohanim olam leduchen b'chol yemos hashana lo b'chol v'lo b'shabbos u'lis b'yom mina garua u'verura kavanato shayaroi she yeshanu min hagam. the Knesset Hagdola, which is a late Rishon or early Acharon, argues that it's a bad minhag and it should be nullified. The Gam Harav Chesed. I'm sorry. Sorry for the break off at the end. Chesed le'Avram, maybe Os Aleph. Kasav demi she'enu mevorech. Tova harbe v'lochein kohen hayareis devar Hashem u'b'mitzvosav chafetz yavor milavarech lasos nachas ruach liyotzro ki tov b'nei Hashem levarech Yisrael. So he says that demi she'enu mevorech. I'm sorry. I think what it means. Umato v'manoim minag shakonim nosim kapayim v'chein roy linhog b'chol makom shalovakesh taklus levatel mitzvahs asay min haTorah. He basically argues that it's proper for every Kohen to try to find opportunities to duchen. And for some reason, I guess the formatting cut off the last word of each line, so I don't get the full sentence, but you get the gist. The gist is that it's not proper to avoid Birkas Kohanim, it's proper to pursue every opportunity possible to duchen. V'yecholom hayinu litzatei dvarim rabim me'ein hanal, ach nistapek be'inyan nosaf echad bilvad. He says we could bring forward a number of different arguments that support this line of reasoning, that you should always find reasons to duchen, not find reasons not to duchen. But I want to add one point where he writes, Shekosov Shari Knesset Hagdola v'zu l'shono. Ir shahayu noagim sheina kohanim nosim kapayim ki'im b'shlosha regolim of Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim. He says if you are part of a city where the minhag is only to duchen on Yom Tov, v'al siba zu ra'u chachamim sheba'oso ha'ir lahanik sheyiso kohanim kapayim afilu b'Shabbos v'achar kach nasnu hasiba eno min haroi lachzor leminhagam harishon u'nadneid atzmam me mima shenogim ka'es u'miyitain yinagu lisos kapayim b'chol yom ad kan lashana. So even the Shari Knesset Hagdola, who was an early European posek, said that if a community had a minhag to only duchen on Yantiv, and then they changed the minhag to duchen on Shabbos as well, and now they realize that they would like to switch back, to go back to the original minhag to be more normative, he says they shouldn't change, because once you've instituted a minhag to duchen, you should hold by it. Mikol anal mispaer b'pshitu sheminhag zeh she'en ha'kahanim nosim kapeim b'chol yom eno minhag tov v'sheroi levat lo v'yesh mekomo shekvar bitluhu u'v'yichud kihilot Ashkenaziyot be'eretz Yisrael shekiblu aleihem ha'orot shehumara da'ara d'Yisrael harat hagra, I think, shehumara da'ara d'Yisrael v'kohanim nosim kapeim b'chol yom. So he says that's the reason why Ashkenazic Jews who immigrated to Eretz Yisrael took it upon themselves to follow the Vilna Gaon and to duchen every day, even though that was not the minhag in Europe. And why is that? Because people realized that whenever situations change and you can find an opportunity to duchen, you should be mevatel the old minhag of not duchening every day. Me'ata, avki ba'otan kilot she'adayin mamshichim v'minhag shelo laseit kapayim kimo minhag kihilatchem. So therefore, getting back to your question, you Ashkenazi Jew who do not duchen every day in your kahal, he says, Ein ze matil isur chas v'sholom al kohen Ashkenazi laseit kapav b'mechol v'shabbat kishu mitpalel b'minyan shel Sfaradim shenoagim laseit kapayim. There's no isur for you to duchen if you're davening with a Sephardic Minyan where their minhag is to duchen every day or at least every Shabbos. Va'adarabba mitzvah biyado laseit kapav b'mechav ha'kohanim ha'Sfaradim u'bibracha davka v'lo kafi shel datchem ze barur pashut. Not only that, but I'll go even further. It is a mitzvah for you to do this. It is proper. You should be happy that you have this opportunity. So therefore, my psak is, for you Ashkenazi Jew who are visiting a Sephardic shul and they're going up to duchen, what a gift that you've been given to be able to duchen with your Sephardi brothers. And therefore you absolutely should duchen. That's Azoy Zokt Harav Chaim David Halevi. ולגבי זה שהספרדים במניין זה נוהגים שלא כהוגן וסומכים על דס המקילים שלא לחלוץ מן הליים ולשאת כפיהם ברצפת בית הכנסת ולא לעלות לדוכן. He says there are some Sefardim in that minyan who behave inappropriately because they don't take off their shoes and they don't go up on the platform to duchen. I guess they just bless the people from a lower place from where they are. They're too lazy or whatever it is. They don't want to go up to the platform. Ve'ilu Ashkenazim choltzim min alayim ve'olim leduchan. Nira li she'kohen Ashkenazi she'yisa kapav b'minyan Sefardim lo yishanem minhag hamakom. Ve'yamod afu levarech et Yisrael ke'echav Sefardim av she'inam noegim keroi al ritzpat beit hakneset v'Hashem hatov yechaper. So your next question was, I daven in a Sefardi shul. The Kohanim duchen, but they don't do it right. They don't take off their shoes and they don't go up on a platform. So what should I do? I want to duchen with my brethren the Sefardim, but they're not doing it right. So Reb Chaim David says, in that situation, al tifrosh min hatzibur. Act the way they act, even though they're not acting properly, but don't be conspicuous in the fact that you're doing things differently from the when in Rome, do as they are doing, even though they're not doing it correctly. But at least they're fulfilling the mitzvah of Birkas Kohan. Now we get to the opposite question. This touches on what Robert had asked. So now you got a question about a Sefardi Kohen who's davening in an Ashkenazi Minyan. And he says, maybe you would argue that he has to leave, because according to his minhag, he has a mitzvah saseh to go up to Duchen. So what's going to be? The Shliach Tzibur is going to go on with Ritzei and is going to do Hamachzer Shechina Solitzion and Tov Shimchala and Elohodos, and then he's going to go to Elokeinu Velokei Avoseinu. And this Sephardi Yid is going to say, wait, I have an obligation. That's my minhag to Duchen. He's going to, can you imagine if a guy were to do that, interrupt the davening, to get up there, put his talus over his head and say, no, we got a Duchen. It would be pretty dramatic, right? So Pashat She'ein Tzarich, Kiven She'ein Shatz Korei LaKohanim. He says, that's not a problem. If there's no one announcing that the Kohanim should go up to the platform, then there's no reason for you to leave the shul just because your minhag normally is to duchen. Shekein mashakasav amordechai shematzrichim oso sheyetzim yibeis hakneses kodem shiaschol shatz ba'avoda. He says if a Kohen is not duchening, the Mordechai says you have to leave before they announce Kohanim. Right? And what's the reason? He says, Ta'amo mishum da'ota sha'ah hi hamyuchedet la'alot kohanim leduchan. He says, because if all the kohanim are going up and you don't, you're in violation of the mitzvah saseh. Uchenamrin kol kohen she'eno oker raglav b'ritzei eno nosei kapu. Uchamin yispor she'en tzorech latzeit chutz lebeit hakneset ela b'shah shekorei kohanim. And the Mordechai says explicitly, it's only when they announce kohanim, and therefore you're being called to go up. By your failure to go up, let's say for whatever reason you're not going to duchen. You're not feeling well, your arms are weak, or whatever it is, your arms are tired. You have to leave, what?
You're an avel.
Or you're an avel. Many have a minhag not to duchen when they're an avel, which we should discuss at some point, whether that's a correct minhag or not. But in any event, but you have to leave before they say kohanim. V'chol zehu b'makom shenosim kapayim v'ashatz yikra kohanim. V'rakoin zeh misibam yuchedet lo nosei kapav. V'hol b'minyan she'no hagim lasei kapayim klal. The shots lo yikra lakohanim vaday shein shum tzorech l'seit chutz lebeit hakneset v'zeh barur biyoter. But he says, but that's only when he's calling the kohanim to go up. But if the kohanim are not being called to go up, like in an Ashkenazi minyan, where we ask Hashem barchenu barbarcha hamishuleshet b'torah k'tuv al Moshe avdecha, and we just say kohanim am kedoshecha kamur yivarechecha Hashem yishmerecha. That's not a call for the kohanim to go up. It's a reminiscence of what used to be when the Kohanim used to bless the people in the temple. And we're asking Hashem, bless us like the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, bless the people. Anyway, Ad Kan, the tshuva of Reb Chaim David Halevi. Now, so you're going to say, he's a Sephardi, what else is he going to say? So if you take a look at the Rivavos Ephraim, so from Rav Ephraim Greenblatt, who's one of the preeminent Talmidim of Rav Moshe Feinstein, should have Arichus Yamim. He's a big posek in Memphis, Tennessee, and still is, from what I understand, is still being Masader Gittin throughout the Midwest of the United States. He writes, and in source number 4, he says, "Asfardim nohagim b'chutz la'aretz kol yom la'alot leduchan." He says, Sfardim have a minhag to duchen every single day. V'nish'alti mikohen shetzorech lihitpalel sham v'hu Ashkenazi hayim yala leduchen. I was asked the question, should an Ashkenazi Jew duchen there? He says, V'shamati miyididi harav Yerachmiel Adler Shlita duhu Kohen, v'shoal liyididi harav Gon Rav David Feinstein Shlita, v'amar lo im ispal limam asarach lalos l'nesias kapayim kemosam. So Rav David Feinstein said that if you're davening with them, then you're obligated to duchen with them. V'hanira l'nias daiti kasavnu, he says, so first of all, I answered, Dios tekach minhagam az yala leduchen. So I responded, if that's their minhag, so then you should go up to duchen. And Rav David Feinstein says that you have to go up to duchen. V'hanir l'nias daiti kasavnu, v'rachaman yatzilenu mishgios, v'cha'is ra'isi, b'shaylas ha'tshuvas ma'im chaim, and simin dalad l'yididi harav agon Reb Chaim HaLevi Shlita, shepasa kidvarenu diyochol la'alos leduchen u'pashad. And he quotes Reb Chaim David HaLevi. And he says, obviously you should go up and duchen. So Rav Greenblatt is endorsing the Sefardi Psak. Now, we have another contemporary sefer where he, Sefer Banim Chavivim. I'm not sure if we're going to go through this whole thing now. But maybe we'll come back to it if we have time. There's the Miluim of that Sefer, Banim Chavivim, writes, this is source number 3, in the back of the Sefer, he writes, as an addendum to his tshuva, he writes, V'chein heisik b'shaylos ha'tshuvas b'tzeil ha'chachma depashat she'enot tzarech latzei, that a Kohen does not have to leave a Sephardic minyan when they're duchening. V'da shekenu adin lagabi Kohen ben Ashkenaz, a Sephardi does not have to leave an Ashkenazi minyan when he would normally be duchening. And he said that the same halacha would hold true by an Ashkenazi Kohen, shenizdami lo lihispal b'chutz la'aretz b'minyan shel Sfaradim hanoagim lisak kapayim b'chol yom sheyachol gam hu lalas u'duchenim shar kohanim ve'eno tzorech latzeis misham afal pi she'ein minhago lisak kapav. He doesn't have to leave, as we've just said. V'chein heishiv li hagrach Kanievsky shlita b'michtav. Omnam im hu hakohen hayichidi ba'oto minyan, az yachol lihisher mibli lahodia shehu kohen v'lo over bekach al shum isur. But then he writes something quite interesting. If you're the only Kohen present at a Sefardi Minyan in Chutz La'aretz, and you're an Ashkenazi Jew, so you don't have to notify them that you're a Kohen. Why? Because when there's only an obligation midioraisa of duchening, it's kosevarachu. So shall you plural bless. You in the plural shall bless the Kohanim. So from here we learn that there's only a mitzvahs asay deoraisa to do birkas Kohanim when what? When there are 2 or more Kohanim. And what that means is that one thing you may have noticed if you've ever davened in a minyan where there's only one Kohen duchening, they don't say the word Kohanim. And since the Kohanim are not being called up to duchen because there's no longer a mitzvah saseh, you are not in violation of any mitzvah saseh if you choose not to be the sole Kohen who's going to duchen. So that's another little knetch that you should just be aware of. Source number 7, in the Sefer Va'ani Avorachem, from Rav Yosef Mordechai Falk, which is, again, a modern psak sefer. This is all about, as you can tell from the title of the sefer, bless you, Va'ani Avorachem, is a sefer on Birkas Kohanim, because that's the pasuk, V'samu Shmiel B'nei Yisrael, Va'ani Avorachem. Now, Kohen me'edot ha-mizrach b'beit ha-knesset shel Ashkenazim b'chutz la'aretz b'yom chol. So he just wants to give us the final psak. If a Sefardi Kohen is davening in an Ashkenazi minyan in chutz la'aretz, Muva ba'achronim shekohen shenose kapayim b'chol yom v'nimsa b'makom she'eino agim lisak kapayim kol hayom eino tzorech la'aseh mi beit hakneset beit amirat Elokeinu ve'elokei avoteinu. As we just said, you don't have to leave shul. But Kohen Ashkenazi b'beit knesset shel Sfaradim b'chutz la'aretz b'yom chol im karu lo la'alot o karu kohanim al pi ha'maharsham v'chot tevarechu hanal chayav la'alot. If they call out kohanim and you're in the shul, You're obligated to go up in Duchen. You're obligated. Now, let's just go a little bit further in this and explore it a little bit more. If you turn the page, you go to footnote 53 of that same Sefer, he quotes what he heard from Rav Elyashiv Shlita, that you're obligated to go up. And then he says, Ha'im mutar lo lechatchila lisa kapav sham bimei chol. Is it mutter for you lechatchila to go in Duchen during the week, not because you have any reason to dafka daven at a Sefardi shul, but you want to. Like you say to yourself, you know what? I feel like blessing my brethren. I want to give a bracha. I'm a Kohen after all. I'm a princely person. I want to give a bracha to my chaverim. So are you allowed to do that? He says, Shamati mehagrashaz orbach shlita shal pi minhag chutz laaretz asur lekohen Ashkenazi lechatchila lalechet lebeit knesset Sefardi al menat lisa kapav bimei hachol v'chein shamati b'shem hagrish Elyashiv Shlita. So he says as follows, quoting both Reb Shlomo Zalman and Rav Elyashiv, that lechatchila, if that's your sole intention in going to the Sephardic shul so that you can go and bless your fellow Kohanim, your fellow Jew, that you're not supposed to do. Because since your minhag, it's like the Bas Kol is speaking to you, it's your minhag not to duchen, you shouldn't go out of your way to trespass on your minhag. So it's one thing...
That works the other way around. That works both ways for a Sefardi too.
Yeah, he doesn't specifically say that by a Sefardi.
That means he wouldn't theoretically be, unless he...
But it would follow what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If these modern day poskim are saying, listen, it's one thing if you're invited to the simcha and you find yourself davening there and they call kohanim, then you're mechuyav, then you're mamish mechuyav, your mitzvah say deoraisa to go. But to dafka go out of your way with the objective of being able to duchen, there they say you should not do that. You should not make that your primary objective. Like, I feel like duchening today, so I'll daven at Kehila Center. Okay? That they say you should not do. Okay. Now, I want to provide you with a fascinating other insight from Rav Ovadia Yosef. Another compelling reason why one might argue that an Ashkenazi Kohen should not duchen in a Sefardi Minyan. And when I read this, I have to tell you, I was truly humbled. And you'll see why. The Shulchan Aruch writes, Mi she'eno yodea lachatocha otiyot. If a Kohen does not know how to pronounce the letters of Hebrew correctly, Kegon she'omer la'alfin ayinin ula'ayinin alfin, v'chayotzei bazeh lo yisad kapav. It's mefurish asif in Shulchan Aruch that if you don't know how to pronounce the letters correctly, instead of an aleph you say ayin, and instead of ayin you say aleph, you mix up the letters, then you do not have permission to duchen. Now, this is a game changer, right? Because what right does anyone who's Ashkenazi have a right to duchen, right? What about the fact that we pronounce our cheses like chavs, and we say vichuneka? So we should say vichuneka. And if we say vichuneka like a chav, we're also disqualified from duchening. So what right do we have to duchen? What right does any Ashkenazi Jew have a right to duchen ever if he doesn't know how to pronounce the letters correctly and distinguish between the ches and the chaf, the het and a hey? What right do we have to duchen at all? So the Mishnah Berurah says, V'hu hadin mi shekori lehetin heihin or shekori lis shibolet sibolet. What part of Europe did they do that? A Litvak says siboles, or Aguten Sabis. What?
Shevet Binyamin.
Shevet Binyamin in Sefer Shoftim had that speech impediment as well. But if you don't know how to distinguish between a shin and a sin, so he says, V'im kol b'nei iro, korin kach mutar lisa kapayim sham ba'oto makom. However, your saving grace is this, that if everyone in your community pronounces the letters the same way, then you're allowed to duchen. Meaning, if every Ashkenazi Jew does not distinguish between a ches and a chaf, and vichuneka sounds like it's with a chaf to a Sefardi ear. But for us, it doesn't. We think about it as a ches. So then it's okay for you to duchen, because that's the way everyone in your community pronounces it. Umintam zeh kaspu achronim debizmanenu shrov bnei amenu ein yodim lahavchin ben havarat ha'ayin la'alef memela mutar lisa kapav. And that's the reason why today we're allowed to duchen, because even though we don't know how to distinguish between an ayin and an aleph, but since no one does, it's perfectly okay. And by the way, the same thing really applies to Kriyas HaTorah, because you're supposed to get a Bal Kriya who knows how to lane, and knows how to do Chituch HaOtiyot, and knows how to correctly pronounce the letters. What about the fact that our Bali Kriya don't pronounce the ayin, don't distinguish between the het and the chaf, or the kuf and the kaf? No. Everyone reads Hebrew that way, because we all went to the same schools where they didn't make those distinctions. And what are you going to do? V'yesh omrim od medinat Russia sheregilam harbe likro shibolet sibolet af tichlal anshi hamedina yodim hahefer shebein shin yemonis lismolis mikomokom muter lisa kapov. And the Taz goes even further. Even though you can distinguish between a shin and a sin, but if many people pronounce it as sibolet instead of shibolet, it's okay for you to duchen there anyway. He says in the Russian, he probably means litter, right? Right, Alan? Okay, fine. So listen to what the Yalkut...
Even though it was basically...
Okay, Poland, Russia, the same, changes every day, right? Okay, so look at source number 10. Yalkut Yosef writes, this is it's Rav Avadia's son, who basically collects his father's Piskei Halacha. Dvarim hame'akvim bekohanim elisat kapehem. What prevents a Kohen from duchening? Kohen she'eno yachol levatei ha'utiyot kahalacha, כגון שקורא לאלף עין ולעין א', או שקורא לחט כף רפויה, או לחט ה' ולה' ח', או שקורא לשיבולת סיבולת וכיוצא בזה, אף על פי שרשאי לישא כפיו בעירו ושאר מקומו. He says, if he can't distinguish these letters properly, even though he's allowed to duchen in his community, because that's the way everyone else pronounces the letters. Hoel v'rubam kekulam omrim kain, since everyone does it that way. Mikol makom b'mekomot shehem tzahei halashon lo yisa kapav. But if you're going to daven in a place where they do distinguish properly between a het and a hey, and between an ayin and an aleph, because they know how to pronounce the Hebrew letters correctly, you should not duchen. Yes, Alan?
I go to Israel.
1 second. Don't ask me the what if. Don't ask me the ifs yet, because we have to see the finish. We have to let's get to the end and then we'll do the what ifs. Okay? V'yesh omrim. However, says Rav Ovadia, she'im hu ragil beinenu, v'kulam yodim she'eno yachol levatei et ha'otiyot kahalacha, rashai lisa kapav. But if we all know this yankel, right? Literally, he's a yankel, because he's a yankel from Ashkenaz, right? The man from Ashkenaz. It used to be that the Ashkenazim condescended to the Sfaradim. Now the Sfaradim condescend to the Ashkenazim. You come to our shul, you can't even read Hebrew correctly. You don't even know what you're saying. He says, but if everyone knows, the Nebuch, the Ashkenazi, comes to our shul, doesn't know how to pronounce the words, but we all know that that's his deal, he's still allowed to duchen, because we know that's his handicap. ולכן בזמננו שכולם מכירים את ההיגוי והמבטאות השונים, יכול כל כהן לשאת כפיו בכל מקום. And therefore today, in today's world, in Eretz Yisrael especially, but even in Toronto, where we all recognize that we all have different pronunciations depending upon our minhagim, depending upon our background, it's not foreign to a person, to a Sefardi Jew, to hear an Ashkenazi recite Hebrew, because he knows he's an Ashkenazi. That's the way they say it. Therefore, it's okay for him to duchen. Ve'al kol panim ein lahorid kohen shekvar alalo duchan misibazu, and certainly never stop a kohen from duchening for that reason of any kind of pronunciation handicap. V'chein pashar haminhag be'eretz Yisrael shegam hakohanim Ashkenazim she'inam mevatim yafeh ot ayin v'koren la'ayin in alfin nosim kapehem eisal asfaradim. He says, and that's why the minhag is in Eretz Yisrael, that these shlechta Ashkenazim, who don't know how to differentiate between an ayin and an aleph, we let them duchen next to their Sephardi brothers. Av shegam hanikud shoneh etzlam tachlit shinui me'etzleinu. Even though the way that they pronounce the verbs, the vowels rather, also is very, very different. Because we say a komatz, they say kamatz. There's so many differentiations in pronunciation of the vowels as well. But since we all recognize the geographic differences in pronunciation, it's acceptable. V'hanach lahem liYisrael, and he ends off by saying, leave the Jewish people alone, even though this is problematic at the end of the day. But no, it's nice to have everyone get together and duchen, and the Jewish people know what they're doing, and this is a brotherly thing, and that's why I sort of was so humbled, because I feel like, okay, little Ashkenazi, you want to duchen. Okay, come, little boychik. Come, we'll let you duchen. You don't know what you're saying. Come. You can.
After a time.
Maybe one day you'll figure it out. Come, you can stand next to us in duchen. That's like the patronizing attitude that I get when I read this kind of tshuva, and it's true. The truth of the matter is, Rav Nassan Adler, the Rebbe of the Chassam Sofer, hired a Yemenite teacher to teach him Mivtah, to teach him how to pronounce the letters, because halacha demands that we know how to recite each letter uniquely. And even the Beged Kefet letters, the difference between a bet and a vet we know, between a kaf and a chaf we know, but what about a gimel with a dot and a gimel without a dot? What about a dalid with a dot and a dalid without a dot? We don't make any differentiation anymore. No nafkaminas, because...
He doesn't listen to Svart, by the way.
What?
He doesn't listen to Svart, by the way.
Who's that? Rav Nassan Adler?
Yeah.
What, we have a siddur of his? Is that how we know?
Oh, Chassam Sofer says that he was asked, how can you have a Rebbe who moved from Poland to Frankfurt, because he was from Poland, and he doesn't listen to Svart.
Interesting. Okay, just a couple of other sources, and then we'll be done for the evening. Another sefer for the Kohanim called Vayisa Aharon, from Rav Avraham Aharon Traub. He writes as follows: Ben Eretz Yisrael yishtadel lisa kapayim kishenimsa b'chutz aretz. Another halachic issue. An Israeli Ashkenazi comes to visit Chutz La'aretz. Where should he daven? Okay, he's a Kohen, and he's used to duchening every single day. So where does the Israeli Ashkenazi, who's traveling to Chutz La'aretz, he's going to Palo Alto, because he's got a high-tech business in Israel, and where should he daven? Should he daven in the Sefardi shul where they duchen every day, like his minhag, or should he daven Nusach Ashkenaz with the Ashkenazim without duchening? So he writes as follows: Kohen ben Eretz Yisrael afilu imhu mibnei Ashkenaz she'avotav nahagu shel lisak kampai b'chutz la'aretz. Even though he's Ashkenazi, so his ancestry dictates that he should not duchen in Chutz La'aretz every day. Im nasa l'chutz la'aretz yesh lo lechazer achar beit hakneset shel Sfaradim shenosim kapeim b'chol yom. He should davka seek out a Sephardi shul. Like, after I make Aliyah, if I come back to visit you guys, I'm going to the Kehillah Center. I mean, that's basically what he's saying that I'm supposed to do. Because I have to try, once that becomes your established minhag, that you duchen every day, so you should, if you're a Kohen, you should try to strive to duchen every day. Now, and he quotes from the Sefer Halichot Shlomo from Reb Shlomo Zalman. We saw Reb Shlomo Zalman before. Katav de mutar lo lisa kapav. He says it's mutter for an Ashkenazi to duchen in a Sephardi minhag if he lives in Chutz La'aretz. Aval Kohen Ashkenazi ben Chutz La'aretz lo yelech lechatchila lebeit haknesef Sephardi shenogim bo lisa kapayim b'chol yom. But lechatchila, like we saw before, if you live in Chutz La'aretz, you should not go out of your way to go to a Sefardi minyan to duchen. However, u'v'sefer Piskei Tshuvot katav b'shem sefer Kol Chotzev shagon Reb Shalom HaKohen Shvadron Zatzal כשהיה בחוץ לארץ היה הולך בכל יום למרחק רב להתפלל בבית הכנסת ספרדי כדי שיוכל לקיים מצוות נשיאת כפיים. The Rav Shvadron Zatzal, when he would go to Chutz La'aretz, he would dafka go out of his way to go to a Sefardi minyan so that he could duchen every day, because he was a Kohen. And finally, we have another Sefardi posek called the Mechkarei Aretz, Rav Moshe Rachamim Shayo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. The sheila is Ha'im mutar lekohanim Sfaradim lehitpalel etzel Ashkenazim b'makom shelo laseit kapayim ki'im b'yom tov o dilma ein bazeh chashash. Is a Sephardi Jew allowed in Chutz La'aretz, allowed to daven regularly at an Ashkenazi Minyan? And it's specifically a Kohen Sephardi. A Sephardi Kohen, is he permitted to daven in an Ashkenazi shul on a regular basis, or is it not a problem? So he writes as the tshuva, Heyotu mitzvat aseh b'chol yom laseit kapayim, ein lakohanim levatel mitzvah biyadayim. He says, that's not proper. It's a mitzvah saseh. Why would you want to be mevatel a mitzvah saseh? Actively nullify a positive commandment. V'lachein misha min hagol levarech gam b'yom chol lo yitpalel b'makom shemin hagam she'ein osim kapayim b'yom chol.
Maybe that's the only shul in town.
Listen, b'makom she'ein ish, right? You know, if this is the only shul in town, you got no choice, right? But if you're a Moroccan Jew, you're a Syrian Jew, you're minhag, you come from a community where the minhag is to duchen every day, so you shouldn't, and you're a Kohen. He's only redressing if you're a Kohen. If you're a non-Kohen, apparently that's not an issue. You're not obligated to daven at a Sefardi Minyan. But if you're a Kohen Sephardi, then you should dafka make a point of davening at a Sephardic Minyan. So let's just review, and then we'll take Alan's question. Let's just review. What we've seen so far is a number of things. Number one, if you find yourself in a Sephardi Minyan, for us Ashkenazi boys, if you find yourself in a Sephardi Minyan and you're a Kohen, by all means go up to Duchen. They'll pat you on the head and they'll say, even though you don't know what you're saying, maybe one day you'll learn. Okay, that's Rav Ovadia's attitude towards the Sephardi boys. Okay, that's number one. According to Rav Elyashiv and to Rav Shlomo Zalman, you should not make a point of going out of your way to a Sephardi Minyan with the specific objective of duchening, because that's not the minhag of Ashkenazi Jews. It said if you find yourself there, you're permitted to duchen, and not only that, but you're obligated once they say kohanim, that you have to go up to duchen, because then otherwise you'd be mevatel a mitzvah saseh. What we also saw is that if you're an Ashkenazi Jew living in Eretz Yisrael, who's a Kohen, and you're visiting Chutz La'aretz, and you have options, you should dafka go out of your way to daven at a Sephardi Minyan so that you can duchen every day, just like you do back at home in Eretz Yisrael. As far as Sephardim are concerned, if you're a Sephardi who's a Kohen, so we saw from this last Sefer, certainly you don't have to leave the shul if you're davening in an Ashkenazi Minyan, but what you definitely do have to do is make it a point not to become kavua in an Ashkenazi Minyan if you have other options to daven in a Sephardi Minyan. If your family minhag is to duchen every day, you shouldn't opt as a Kohen to be mevatel that mitzvah saseh. Alan, go ahead.
You answered my question. But in my limited experience, I like here where they take a club after Kedusha, say Kohanim. They don't do that to Sephardi meetings.
Well, because it's bavus, as we say
So because of that,
yeah.
we're not really being called up then.
No, but they do say kohanim.
They don't make they don't.
No, they're not. The clapping on the bima is we do only in our shul as a courtesy to remind the kohanim that they should wash their hands. But the word kohanim is said by all minyanim.
I thought you were referring to what we do here.
No.
That's universal.
That's not the call for the kohanim to duchen. That's a call, kohanim, you better wash your hands now because the line's going to get long and you're not going to make it in time. That's why we clap on the bima. Yeah. And also because it's so infrequent that kohanim duchen, a lot of people just don't remember. Right.
Does any of this translate to the person who's receiving the bracha, as opposed, like a Sephardi who davens in an Ashkenaz minyan normally, does he have an obligation to go to a minyan?
Right. So that far I haven't seen any posek who goes that far to say that if you're a Sefardi Yisrael, that there's an imperative for you to receive the bracha daily from the Kohanim. I haven't seen that. Listen, it stands to reason that if you're a Sephardi and you have an opportunity to receive the priestly blessing, why not? Right? Although don't spread that too far because maybe we'll lose our Sephardi members.
Especially it's deoraisa too.
What?
Is there a mitzvah to receive a blessing?
There's no mitzvah deoraisa to receive the blessing.
Just to give it.
There's a mitzvah to give the blessing. Right? There's no mitzvah deoraisa to receive. There's an isser to turn your back on the blessing. That I'm not sure whether that's derabbanan or deoraisa, But to reject the blessing is also usher. But you're not rejecting the blessing by davening at an Ashkenazi minyan. It's like, we've talked about this before. There's a superstition among certain Ashkenazi Jews. Some people have told me that it goes on here too, that they're so fearful of looking at the Kohanim when they duchen that some people turn around.
Right.
That's usher.
Right.
That's usher. That's a minhag shtut. You'll forgive me for saying so. But that actually is a violation of halacha if you do that, because by turning your back to the Kohanim, you're rejecting the bracha. So, and please tell whoever you know who does this that the Rav said this is just like a total error. It's a total error. What?
In the women's section, you see quite a few of them turning around.
So tell them. Go up there next time, Alan. I give you permission.
Security.
It's a security. You tell them, ladies.
From the bulletin for halacha.
Yeah, we should.
Maybe you should give a shiur on how you can turn your back on Kabbalah Shabbos on the Yarin Kodesh.
Right. So I mean, we did give a shir once.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, we gave a shir on what do you do when, like a room like this, where the doors are to the side. Do you bow to the doors or do you bow to the west? And upstairs you have the same thing. So we looked at the minhag Arizal. Arizal said you're bowing specifically to the west,
Right.
because the Shechina, sunset, the Shechina is in the west. So it's not an isser of having your back to the Aron because you're going towards the
But
Shechina.
they did it outside though.
True. That's a good point. Okay, anything else? Any other comments, questions? Yes, Alan?
What do you think extrapolating would be the view of the Aruch HaShulchan on, I mean, he doesn't really address the issue specifically, but if he did, what do you think he would say?
About on the issue of an Ashkenazi Kohen Duchening at a Sefardi Minyan?
Yeah.
Well, look, you clearly see that he was bewildered by the minhag. So, I mean, we can't really extrapolate what he would say because we don't know, but it stands to reason that everything that the poskim have said is very reasonable. Why shouldn't you duchen if you're in a Sefardi minyan?
Right. He also had a big approach, a philosophy around Al Tifresh Minat Tzibur.
Al Tifresh Minat Tzibur. Yeah, so if you find yourself there, when in Rome, yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Okay? Thank you for listening. Have a good night, everyone.